everybody, it's Sarah, and today I am back with a video that I have not done in a while, and that is a review. And that review, or rather actually gush, is going to be of Orfeia by Joanne Harris. And I am sorry if during this video I will hold this book weirdly and you'll get the glare, because this is just an absolutely beautiful foiled cover. Like the sides, the spine and the back are beautiful as well. It's just whoever did the design of this cover just did a stellar job, and it fits the book so well. So as some of you might know, Joanne Harris is the author of one of my favorite books of all time, The Gospel of Loki. And this is the first time that I was able to pick up one of her books that's outside of her kind of Norse mythology inspired books. And it's also her latest release. This was only just released at the beginning of September. Orfeia is the third in a series of books, or a series of story Joanne Harris writes, where she is inspired by Old English child ballads to kind of weave them into stories, weave them into retellings, although this specific book also is a retelling of the Orpheus myth, aside from being inspired by the child ballads 2 and 19. I have to be honest and say that I do not know what these child ballads are and from which time in English history they're from, but they are scattered throughout the story and kind of add a little something to it. Now, before I get into an actual summary of the book and then also into my review of the book, I want to very quickly read you the back synopsis of it because it's so beautiful and you all have to listen to it. So begins a beautiful and tragic quest as a heartbroken mother sets out to save her lost daughter through the realms of the real, of dream, and even into the underworld itself. But determination alone is not enough. For to save something so precious, she must give up something precious, be it a song, a memory, or her freedom itself. And it's just, it sounds so beautiful. As I said, this is an Orpheus retelling. However, as you were probably able to tell from the synopsis just now, this is not an Orpheus retelling where we follow a husband or a man going into death to kind of plead for the return of his dead wife or lover. However, this is the story of a mother whose daughter committed suicide and who then goes into death to plead for the return of her daughter. And so I do have to say that there's trigger warnings just generally for the exploration of grief, because the mother's grief is explored quite deeply, what it does to her. Like, her mother's love in generally is explored a lot. And then also, of course, there's the trigger warning for suicide. It's not really discussed that much in the book. However, it is like very obvious that the reason the daughter died isn't an illness or anything, but the reason the daughter died was suicide. And so there's just, if that's something you're sensitive to, be careful. So, why do I love this book so much? First of all, the writing is absolutely beautiful. Like, the back already gave you a taste of the way this book is written. It's just, Joanne Harris's writing is just god tier, absolutely beautiful. Also, this is the type of retelling, the type of fairy tale, of modern fairy tale that I love. I can enjoy retellings and YA retellings, however, I don't love them quite as much as these types of retellings or Madeline Miller, and also recently I read Gods of Chain and Shadow, because these are the types of retellings where I feel they understood the core of what makes a fairy tale. It's not the most complex characters, although our mother in this story is very much a complex character in my opinion, but you only get to really see one side of her during the story. These types of retellings also don't have the most logical plot progression. Sometimes things just happen because they need to happen. Sometimes things are easy because they need to be easy at that moment, and sometimes things are harder than they seem just because that's what a fairy tale is. A fairy tale isn't having like a story built like with your usual fantasy novels. A fairy tale is more about like the essence, the feeling it gives you in a way. At least for me, that's what it is, and that's what I enjoy in my retellings. So if you enjoy that, absolutely go pick Orfeia up. But if you don't enjoy that, then maybe this book isn't for you. If beautiful writing and beautiful imagery isn't enough for you, then maybe this book isn't for you. Also, what I forgot to say is that this book is illustrated. So let me see if I can find any. There are illustrations scattered throughout the story that are very pretty. They aren't exactly in my favorite art style, so that's kind of the only thing where I wasn't head over heels in the story. I usually prefer, for illustrations in books, I prefer a less realistic art style than the one in this book. But I still really, really appreciated all of the illustrations, and they're kind of just, where are they? They're just really beautiful and really nice. And yeah, I don't know what else I can say about this book, because it's the perfect retelling. That's what I can say about the book. It's the perfect retelling. I absolutely love that the main character is a mother, because, and that is said at the beginning of the book as well, that fairy tales don't usually have mothers. Fairy tales start or begin with the death of the parents. However, this fairy tale begins with the death of a daughter. And so I guess the last thing I want to do to finish this review is to read you a quote that just, like, it gave me goosebumps. It's so beautiful, it's so heart-wrenching, and it just perfectly encompasses the feeling this book gave me and kind of the atmosphere of the book. And that quote is, "There should be a word," Feyor tells herself, "for a woman who loses a child. A woman who loses a husband can at least put a name to her loss. She's a widow. Her grief has a name. That name gives her a narrative, but this is a different kind of grief. She's a woman who has lost a child. She was a mother. Now she is not. Now she does not know who she is. Now she's adrift, alone. Nameless, she casts no shadow." And when I read that, first of all, I teared up. And by the way, that quote is like on page 6 or something of the book. I teared up, and I knew when I read that quote that this would be a 5-star read for me, and that nothing that happens in that story could ever change this book being a 5-star read for me, because man, I just love that so much. Also, here's another beautiful illustration at the very beginning. Yeah, and that's it for this review. This was a very short review. I don't have a lot to say about this book. I just wanted to sit down and gush about it because I just love this so much, and I didn't expect to love it so much, to be honest. And yeah, that was it for this review. Tell me in the comments down below if you have read Orfeia and what your thoughts were on it, or tell me in the comments down below if you plan on reading Orfeia, which again, I highly recommend. I also highly recommend getting the physical hardcover copy because, again, it's so beautiful. It's just gorgeous. And yeah, with that said, all the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. All the links to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, in which we read one adult high fantasy written by a woman per month, will also be in the description box down below, so go and check those out as well. And with that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!